Good evening, everyone. It is now 7 p.m. I'm going to call the Tuesday, March 16th, 2021 Board of Selectmen meeting to order. All three selectmen are present. Begin with the approval of minutes. Make a motion that we approve the Board of Selectmen special meeting minutes from February 23rd, 2021.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion on these meeting minutes?
I don't have anything.
Hearing none, all in favor of approving the Board of Selectmen special meeting from February 23rd, 2021, say aye.
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 Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Make a motion that we approve the Board of Selectmen special meeting minutes from February 25th, 2021.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion on these meeting minutes?
Nope.
Hearing none. All in favor of approving the Board of Selectmen special meeting minutes from February 25th, 2021, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay, hearing none, that motion passes. Make a motion, we approve the Board of Selectmen special meeting minutes from February 27th, 2021.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion on these special meeting minutes? Okay, hearing none. All in favor of approving the Board of Selectmen special meeting minutes from February 27th, 2021, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? That motion passes. And finally, I'll make a motion, we approve the Board of Selectmen meeting minutes from March 2nd, 2021.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion on these minutes? Okay, the only note that I have is that under agenda item 8, Natchog Epic, the motion was made by A. Stainon, seconded by, should have said K. Beausoleil, it says L. So if Dottie, you could make that change.
Well, we got my middle initial in there.
Oh, is that what it is?
So just add a K before it.
There you go.
L. Beausoleil. Are there any other items to discuss within these minutes? Okay, hearing none, all in favor of approving the Board of Selectmen meeting minutes from March 2nd, 2021 with that one adjustment, say aye.
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 Aye. Opposed? Okay, and that motion passes. Moving on to correspondence. So I did want to discuss the Recreation Commission, Recreation Aid, the letter that you received in regard to that. What that's in relation to is Donna in the building office has the most time accrued for vacation. And she's going to be taking 5 weeks off in the next 2 months, which is going to leave that department empty. And it's a very public office, which means there's a lot of contractors that come in there in the mornings. So what I asked was, because Chris Elkinson, who is the clerk for the Recreation Commission or the Recreation Department, has only been working 14 hours. There's been an extra 5 hours that she hasn't been being paid for over the pretty much last year. So I asked Leslie if she would be so kind as to lend some time to help assist that office. So that's what this letter was about, stating that it's only temporary. It's just to help that department through this time of Donna getting caught up on the vacation time that was owed her. So, and they're offering up to a total of 25 hours. She'll be covering in the mornings. So basically 4 to 5 hours a week, she'll just be covering and answering phone calls and just helping assist some of the builders that might be coming into that office.
So where will her pay come from?
Well, it'll basically be applied to, I believe, and this would be a question for Orla, it will be applied to the building department as
Right.
overage, And eventually in a transfer, it'll come out of recreation for the hours that haven't been used for the last year. And that's 5 hours a week for the last year, pretty much.
So why would it come out of recreation though?
Well, it's just a transfer. So the hours are sitting there being unused by
But
the
they're part of the recreation budget. I would think that would have to come out of the building office budget.
It would be posted to the building office, but the building office doesn't have the hours allotted to it, is what I'm saying.
I just don't want to see it come out of the recreation budget. I don't think that's fair to them.
Well, the recreation budget will show a reduction. It'll be shifted over at the end of the year budget transfers.
Leslie's on the call too. I don't know if she wants to.
Yeah, I can just speak. That's why the commission wanted just a letter sent. Just given this year, we do have, Chris has some additional hours based on, doing less in-person activities. So that's why she's 14. So she would be available, at this time point to give those hours. And the commission just, is willing to give those in the understanding that the building office needs them, but it should just be documented that it was just a temporary and that it's the reason we have those hours is because of COVID. And we won't have them very soon as things are starting to open up back up. And actually the timing of this is good because, soon we'll be opening summer camp registration and then Chris will go back to her full hours. I do think it's important to reflect it in the building office, which Amy, it sounds like you are doing, just because I do know that office has been particularly busy. And when COVID first happened, Chris was helping out up there, here and there as needed, as we were shutting down. So I think it's good just for, to show that, but the commission is authorizing for, 20 hours to come out of the budget.
Okay. Okay.
And
Understanding that makes sense to me. And as long as they are okay with that coming out of your budget, then
they just wanted to, make this, group aware that it is temporary. The reason why she's doing less hours is due to COVID and that those full 19 hours are usually needed.
Right.
Okay.
Are totally absolutely needed. And what we're going to show is that the building department used those hours. And then later on, when it comes to the end of the year, that's when the transfers will happen.
Yeah, I definitely
okay.
do that. Yeah, I think it's good, like you said, Amy, just to document it because it does just show that they have a need up there. So
And
thanks.
what I've really stressed, I mean, obviously it's been a weird year where people weren't taking time off, but I've stressed with that office, I've asked Donna, please use more of your time. She gets 5 weeks a year. She's been working overtime, which has given her some comp time. So she has that time to use as well. So it's a complete, yeah. So we're trying to get that department under control. And her plan is to use 1 week every month throughout the summer so that she doesn't end up having to take 5 weeks all at once. So.
Okay.
But I did want to definitely address and explain that letter. I thought it was important to do that. So with that, we'll move on to Selectmen's comments. Any Selectmen comments at this time?
I just got a couple of things. One, the rec department along with EDC will be having their Maker Faire coming up May 1st through at Riverside Park from 1 to 4. Spring is coming very quickly, so hopefully we can find time to get the park cleaned up and ready for that event that's coming up. Hopefully you can share some light on the HR person sharing. If you've gotten any more information with that from Melinda, that would be great. And I was up at the transfer station. I did notice a sign up there on the barrel that said transfer station. Anybody bringing up more than 6 bags in one given week would be put over the scale. Maybe you got some info on that, why that was put up, Amy. Not to shoot from the hip on it, but if you could look into that. I see problems with it. Sometimes people don't go every week. We got spring coming in. There's different things with that, and trying to enforce that. It's got to make sense. people use different size bags. Some use big ones, some use small ones. You know, if it's an issue with the you know, what our fees are and what we're paying to get rid of it, you know, that's something that we can address in, you know, October, you know, before October, when the new permits go out, if we need to go up, you know, to help offset some of those transfer costs. That's it.
Suzanne, do you have anything?
Ken, that's a good point. We go, sometimes it's 2 weeks and we do a bag a day, a kitchen bag a day. I mean, yeah, that's a good point. I would be curious as to what the thought process is behind the 6 bags.
Right, with that, I will certainly run with that. I did meet with Alan and Josh from the transfer station. We met together with Rich about a week and a half ago, just to discuss this situation and unfortunately what they're finding. Now, first and foremost, yes, maybe it's something we need to consider. $120 a year is pretty inexpensive if people are abusing the system. And part of the abuse that they're seeing is that a lot of people are not recycling. Alan will generally do a check. All he has to do is touch a few bags. He knows people aren't recycling. So that adds cost when you're talking about single stream recycling. When it gets to the destination it's going and they do start going through those bags and they see that there's cans and there's bottles and there's glass that's not being recycled. So they're trying to basically crack down on that issue. I know I spoke with Lynn. I've been in deep conversation with Lynn Landry about this. She is, of course, part of the transfer station advisory committee, and she's very knowledgeable as far as recycling is concerned. And we are planning to go on Winnie and have a discussion about recycling. Yes, spring is coming up. That means people are spring cleaning their houses. That doesn't mean that it's a free-for-all to come and put everything into your kitchen trash bags and try to dispose of it at the transfer station. If you are bringing bulky waste from your house, you need to go over the scale. And unfortunately, because when you have a basket of apples and there's a few bad apples in it, it's going to infect the entire bunch. And that's unfortunately the problem that we're facing. Is, again, a lot of people not recycling, a lot of people stuffing things into trash bags that don't belong in their kitchen trash bags. The transfer station has every right to say that your household trash should be food waste, things like bottle caps, bags that are packaging of food packaging containers, but it's not supposed to be cans, bottles, or bulky waste that you find when you're cleaning out your house for spring cleaning. And those are the things we're going to be going on to Winnie next week and discussing and really talking about the problems that we're facing, because these are additional costs, and $120 a year is not covering those costs. If it means that we have to raise the cost of the sticker, then that's what we're going to end up having to do. But it's not gonna maintain itself this way. Currently, what we're seeing is that we're covering the cost of disposing of the trash, but we're not covering the overhead. We're not covering the basic operational cost of the transfer station. Additionally, we know that we're going to face some upgrades that we're going to need to make at the transfer station based on a future OSHA inspection. We know that there are upgrades that need to be made, and we're going to have to foot that bill. And the current $120 a year isn't covering that. So these are all things we're doing. We're trying to be proactive so that we can stay ahead of the game, so that we can keep this transfer station available to our residents who really value the service, and it is a valuable service. So that's the long answer to those questions. Additionally, I just want to reiterate that we're currently in budget workshops. The Board of Finance is meeting every Thursday via Zoom. Last week's Thursday attendance was not really great. So I'm hoping to see a lot more residents coming into the meetings and interacting. Additionally, when you want to make a comment for the Board of Selectmen, for the Board of Finance, you can do so through we have a specific email that's opened up just for the budget comments, and it's budget@thompsonct.org. So those questions will be immediately sent over to the Board of Finance, so your voice can be heard directly through that email. Okay, Ken touched upon the Thompson Maker Fair coming up 11 to 4 p.m. on May 1st in Riverside Park. But additionally, we have the Easter Bunny Parade that's coming up between 10:30 and 12:30 p.m. on March 27th. If you would like the Easter Bunny to visit your house, you can email ksimon@etvfd. So that basically stands for East Thompson Volunteer Fire Department.org. So again, email ksimon@etvfd. So E as in Edward, T as in Thomas, V as in Victor, F as in Frank, D as in David.org, and have the Easter Bunny come to your house. We also have the family virtual trivia night on March 27th. You can register at the town website. And the annual roadside cleanup, which is organized by Norma O'Leary, is beginning on March 29th and will extend through the month of April. So if you want to sign up, you can choose a road and do the roadside cleanup. They're also going to be doing the cleanup of the river as well. So that's a really great program, and it keeps Thompson looking great. So that's all I have tonight. All right. And I'll move on to agenda item 5, citizen comments. Any citizen comments tonight? You can unmute yourself. You can raise a hand. You can type something in the chat box and I'll read it for you. And it does not appear that there is any citizen comments. So I will move on to agenda item 6, the resignation of Dave Chaput, TWPCA. This came as a shock. It's taken me a few days to digest it. But after 19 plus years, Dave is leaving his position as director of the Thompson Water Pollution Control Authority. I sent a message to Dave. I also sent a message to Mike Krogel to discuss the replacement, what the job description is, what the benefits package might be, because obviously we have to start thinking about replacing David's position. This doesn't really fall, to my knowledge, doesn't fall on the Board of Selectmen. It falls on the elected board of the Water Pollution Control Authority. So I'm waiting to get some feedback from them. So
Is Dave open to hanging on short, for a short period of time while we get a replacement in place?
yeah, I'm waiting to hear back from him. I would hope. I don't know what his plans are at this point. Again, like I said, I'm just waiting to hear back from him. Kind of threw me for a loop when we got this. So
Tell him his contract says he can't leave till he's made his full 20.
So it said that he moved out of town. So do you is that one of the stipulations to be the directors? You have to live in town?
no, he's always lived in Webster.
Yep.
Oh, maybe I missed. Oh, maybe that was actually, I'm sorry. That wasn't his resignation. That was,
Earl from last week.
yes.
Yeah, I don't know what his plans are, but certainly, like I said, I was thrown. So I don't even know as a board that we have to accept the resignation officially,
No,
although there is regret.
Dave has done a great job over there.
If there's no further discussion on this topic, I'll move on to agenda item 7, which is 0 Lillian Ave. I brought this up probably about 3 meetings ago. I was approached by Matt and Laura Ginio in regard to the potential purchase of a piece of property owned by the town that is slated as open space. I went and walked first I drove by the property, then I messaged Mr. Ginio and I asked him, could we just walk the property and just talk about the issues that you're seeing? So I did that today. It's a different piece of parcel than I would have thought when I finally walked through it, because it's really just a flat open space, and you can see how it could be prone for random acts of people disposing of property very randomly, because there was a couple trash bags that had been thrown there and just debris that had blown into the space. Not completely awful, but you could also see where there was a track where ATVs drive, and just it's certainly not, it's not a pleasant sight, and I really don't see much purpose in the space. So what I would like to do is, I really strongly feel like we should move this on to the Planning and Zoning Commission for them to decide, since they were the ones that made it open space. I feel like we should move it on to them so they can decide how they should answer this request, because it really does fall on Planning and Zoning and not on the Board of Selectmen. So that's where I stand in this.
I was trying to remember today, and I honestly thought that we sent it to the Planning and Zoning for them to reevaluate and determine if we could actually sell it. I don't remember. Ken, do you remember what the?
No, we didn't.
We didn't. Okay.
We did not.
I would suggest that we do that then. Or Amy, is that what you were suggesting? I'm sorry.
That's what
I would agree with that
move
then.
Planning and Zoning.
I would agree with that. How's that?
Okay.
Well, I still have my opinion on it. Recreation still needs to look at that property, to see what can be done with it. We've only had it, that was transferred to us in 09. I believe it was 09.
06.
06. It hasn't been very long. Obviously, we were into very shortly thereafter, we ended up into the economic downturn a few years later, now with the pandemic. So things have been stagnant. We know what the intentions are. It is a flat piece of land. It does have a lot of potential for recreation, and we should explore all of that before we make a complete decision to elect to dispose of it.
Well, why don't we send it on to Recreation as well?
Well, I think that the charge is that it would have to go to P&Z for their verdict, so that this resident could state their request, and then Planning and Zoning being the actual, having the actual jurisdiction in deciding what happens to parcels. It just, this would give the resident their chance to state their case. In the meantime, I mean.
And the purpose to send it on to the rec department would be to see if there was something they could do with it.
But we're currently dealing with a Bull Hill property that we don't have the finances to rehabilitate.
No, what
This
I'm asking
is a
is,
nice flat parcel of land, but it needs a lot of work. That's just the way I feel.
but I'm asking Ken, the purpose to send it on to rec would be to determine if there's something that they can do with it?
What their thoughts are on it, without a doubt. I mean, there's a lot of things you can use with 4.2 acres of flat area for a number of recreational type activities.
But we already have a lot on our plate. We have a track that's falling apart. We have a Bull Hill recreation area that's a complete mud pit in the spring that we want to do something with. Why would we take on another parcel? That doesn't make any sense to me. We have a resident that wants to caretake it, not to develop it, but to keep it as open space so that he can watch over it. It's literally in his backyard.
It's in everybody's backyard that's right around that development that went in there.
Not in the same manner. It's literally his backyard. Have you
All
toured the site?
All the lots that, I've been out there before. All the lots that surround that 6 Lillian, 4 Lillian, they all surround that. It was set up with the P and Z to possibly do something with it.
There are
It is-
basically two houses that face it, and their backyard is not in that backyard. His backyard is the only backyard that's actually in that property. If you go out there and you walk it, you see his backyard, it's his backyard.
So why don't we send it on to P and Z and have them evaluate it and determine what actually can be done with it?
That's what I would like to do.
I mean, it doesn't mean that we would just take their recommendations, right? Just as we've done with other property.
They might decide to keep it as just open space the way it is. They have that right to decide it, but all I'm asking for is the chance for this resident to actually state his case to planning and zoning. And I really implore people to go walk the property. Don't just judge, oh, I've been there before. Go walk the property with the owner and take a vested interest in what this person is saying, because you'll see it differently if you do walk it.
Wait, we're the owner of it right now, right?
That's correct.
We are
Yeah,
the owner
Oh,
of the
you
property
mean
that's adjacent.
that's
that
abutting it. Okay,
abuts-
yeah,
Immediately abuts it.
yeah. No, I understand what you're saying. I just wanted to make sure I was clear on that. I mean, I'm fine with that. Do we need a motion?
We do.
So I'll make a motion that we send 0 Lillian Ave onto P and Z for them to evaluate and get back to us. Is that,
I would second that motion. Is there any further discussion? All in favor of referring the request to purchase 0 Lillian Ave to planning and zoning, say aye.
aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Nay.
2 to 1, that motion passes. All right, agenda item 8. Ag Grid Energy request to extend 1-year permit fee, discussion and possible action. So this came through on March 11th from Rashi Aki, the president of Fort Hill Ag Grid LLC, requesting, so a couple years ago, the Board of Selectmen had opted to not waive a $40,000 building permit fee for the cost of building the biodigester at Fort Hill Farms. What we agreed to, that it would start in the year 2021, so it would start this year, and the permit cost would run across 10 years. So that would be $4,000 a year beginning this spring. They are requesting to start the payment in first quarter of 2022, as they are just getting established and trying to manage the startup. And then they'll pay every 10 years between quarter 1, 2022 and quarter 1, 2031. Yep, go ahead, Ken.
I'll make a motion that we put it off till the first quarter of 22. And the rationale for that would be the fact that I remember when we did it, it was June of 19. They were hoping to get this thing up and going accordingly. Funding set, delays and, building and different things. They finally got it up and going in the past 6 weeks. So they're not even, getting any income from this at all in order to make any of their bills. So I would be willing to grant that to January 22.
I'll second your motion and I'll open it up for discussion.
So can I just, because I wasn't on the board then, the history is that we're actually financing for them this permit fee of $40,000 over the course of 10 years with no interest or anything like that, allowing them to pay $4,000 a year. And now they're coming back and asking to postpone it for a year?
That's correct.
It's a hard call because my first instinct was no. Only because I think about builders that come in and they're building houses and they have to pay their permits up front before the houses are built, and we've already extended quite a bit.
Well, I look at it as 4 generations of them being up on the farm, keeping this going, which we've all been involved with. Amy has, I have. Suzanne hasn't because she wasn't on the board. I mean, the alternative, you're looking at, developments going up into that property if the farm fails. I mean, this is a way of them keeping this going for the 5th generation. This is also part of I look at it as part of economic development and helping them, helping them and, creating that power for green. And, we still can get power from them to offset the energy costs for the town as soon as they get up fully running and are able to transfer that power over to the town.
Well, I guess my first question, and I'm glad Kai's here, is, you it's one thing you think if it's the Orr family. It's another thing if you think it's a company that's come in and built this digester that has companies throughout maybe the Northeast. So
Who is
if
the
it's coming out of
LLC?
if it's coming out of the pockets of our local farmer, our local business in Fort Hill Farms, then that's one thing. I'm just worried, is it coming out of the pocket of a major company that had the ability to build this digester? That would be my question, and I'm happy if Kais wants to clarify.
Can I speak?
Please. Yes, please.
So Fort Hill Ag-Grid has only been, it's a small business. She has 2 other digesters she just put up in Massachusetts. We're the first one of hers and the first anaerobic digester in Connecticut. She's only been doing this a few years. My father went with her due to her small business. He didn't want, some of these other digesters companies are so huge that they've put up 50 digesters throughout the US. She's only put up 2 in Mass, and we're only 1 in Connecticut. And she's putting another one in the other side of Connecticut. So there'll be 4 total. And hopefully by the end of the year, she'll have the other one up and running. So she's a small business also. And a lot of that money comes out of our pocket too. Because if she needs money to pay these bills, we also put, we fund the project also by our own pocket. So if she says she needs $4,000, from Fort Hill, we have to put that in. So, and that's in our agreement.
So can I ask, guys, is this a partnership with the LLC that you're in?
Yes.
Or is this LLC solely hers?
No. Okay. So Ag-Grid LLC is hers. Fort Hill Ag-Grid LLC is a partnership between the 2 of us. She has her own company called Ag-Grid.
So who is actually applying for the permit?
Well, the both of us did because it's on our property.
So it's the combined name?
Yeah.
Combined partnership, isn't it, guys?
Yes.
So it's you and
Rashi, Fort Hill Ag-Grid LLC.
And she signed the letter, Fort Hill Ag-Grid LLC.
LLC, right? Because this is not for her other digesters. If it was for all digesters that she has put in, it'd be Ag-Grid LLC. But because it's just between our partnership, it's just Fort Hill Ag-Grid. Sorry, I know that's confusing.
No,
I
it's
understand.
it's
I
helpful.
understand. It is helpful.
We needed to hear that. We needed to understand that. And I know Tira had messaged the group and said that Tira Pengesic, our town planner, Director of Planning and Development, she said she had something she might want to share in regard to this.
Yeah, thanks, guys. So I've been, I don't want to exaggerate by saying working closely, but I've been very interested in and doing what I can with Kai's and Rashi as they've been working on this project. And there's a couple of things I want to advance here just to keep in mind. When this first came across to me was one of the first things I sort of put my hands on when I came on staff. And at the time I had advocated for a reduction in those permit costs, which is what they had initially asked for. And that was based on the notion that the biodigester, once it is fully operational, is poised to sell back discounted energy to the municipality, which will in fact save money for the municipality. So this hurdle that they had, which created difficulty, is something that we could relieve to some extent and still come out ahead. The vote at that time was not to offer a reduction in the cost, but to amortize, and that was acceptable to Kai's, and that's fine. So the fundamental piece is still there, that the municipality comes out ahead, and they come out ahead faster, the more effectively the biodigester is able to become fully functional. And I'm currently, in fact, just this week, sent out some letters to our local what Rashi refers to as generators, producers of organic waste and food waste, to try to get them thinking about diverting their waste stream products up to the biodigester, both for the functionality of the facility, but also to bring those businesses and institutions, in the case of Marianapolis, in line with a Connecticut organics recycling law. So the functionality of this facility is beneficial on several different levels. If the provision of the permit fees is still presenting a hurdle which is going to delay their full activation, then it is, in fact, mutually beneficial to us to continue to put that off. I mean, just like we're sort of going out of our way to find the incentives and the motivations for the developer of the mill project to come in and get that important project done. This is a project which is going to end up being regionally important, which we have the ability to interfere for good in. And I think you should strongly consider, at the very least, allowing the extended grace period.
At this point, we have a motion on the floor to approve the request. Is there any further discussion on this topic?
Can I just ask Kai's a question on when do they think it's going to be fully functional? And was the anticipated date for it to be fully functional by now?
So we are not fully functional right now. Our engine, we have some maintenance to be done on our engine. We're running, we're just not running full capacity. We have to ramp this thing up slowly. As our date for fully running has not met, we We were hoping to be running by the end of March. Sometime this spring. March was a early date, and then as spring came on, we'd see how everything was going. We just got our separator going this past week for bedding, so that it's a lot of the people that helped us put this in construction-wise live in Pennsylvania. So, we're working around their schedule, our schedule, them to try to come out. So we're hoped to be up and fully running, sometime this spring. But earliest by the end of March was our target.
So when was your first, so you were due to pay the first 4,000 in January? This January, 2021?
The first quarter.
Yes, but we weren't even operational on January 1st. We didn't start the engine till January 15th or around the 20th, I think.
This is a tough one because typically when you apply for a permit like this, it's at the beginning of a process, something like this, not. But on the other hand,
A lot of the other states that Rashi has done this, when we were talking with her a year or two ago, the other towns did not charge them any building fees for, building permits. So it wasn't factored in when they were going out for the money. The other thing, one of the other things you got to remember, they're trying to ramp up with the food waste, and the way that food waste ramp up, it runs on methane gas, and you have to have that start to digest, to break down, to create the methane gas, and that's a very slow process in order to generate enough reserve in that in order to get them up fully running. So they've had setbacks. You're dealing with COVID as well. I'm sure nothing has gone right. Again, business in town. We're fourth generation. We got power that we will be getting from them. This is a win for the town, and putting it off a year is not going to break the bank.
so Kai's, I would love to do another tour in the spring.
Yes, I agree to that. Rashi will be out on Thursday, but we have our building, Terry and Jamie Snay will be out on Thursday to do the final permit sign off. But when Rashi, I'll find out when she'd be back in town and we could have another get together then.
Maybe when it's a little warmer, a little drier.
Yeah. Well, we could all wish for that, right?
It's got to be coming.
Yes, so we'll put something together. I know Farm Bureau is putting something together for our legislators. Maybe we could do something then, or we'll figure out a different date.
Yeah, just let us know.
Yep, will do.
All right, so there's a motion on the floor. And is there any further discussion before we move to a vote? Okay, all in favor of granting the request to extend the first installment of the permit of $4,000 to next quarter, first quarter of 2022, say aye.
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 I will say aye with the stipulation that that be the last postponement date.
So we'll make that note.
Yes.
So all are in favor, that motion passes. All right. Moving on to agenda item 9, salt storage facility. This was kind of, I'm glad Rich Benoit is in the meeting tonight. This was going to be more of a discussion and possible action, but it's just going to be sort of an update. We met with Rich, myself, Ken Slater, and Wayne Bugden met yesterday just to discuss the salt study. I had sent to both of you the complete study that Wayne Bugden had completed. we had conversation about what the next steps might be. And the way the meeting left last night was that Wayne is going to be going back to the Public Works garage. He's going to be looking at some of the current wells that are in place, the testing wells, to see if they're suitable for the purposes that he's intending to continue testing with. We talked about some action plans. We talked about being proactive. The biggest takeaway from yesterday's meeting was that Wayne Bugden, who's from One Earth Environmental, for any of the people that are listening, the public that's listening, he's been doing a study for us. He's been researching the salt storage facility, trying to see if it's suitable, if the location's suitable, trying to detect if it's been causing any type of problems. And his conclusion was that there is no data to show any increases in salt content in the last 6 to 7 years within the groundwater. And that was his takeaway. But he does think that there's some best practices that we should be following. We should be working closely together with Connecticut Water. We discussed yesterday about petitioning the Connecticut Department of Transportation to designate, establish a low salt application area for state highways and pass-throughs, areas where water drains to the Thompson well fields. So that was one of the proactive items that we took away from the meeting, that we're going to work with Connecticut Water to petition to have that low salt area established, which would have probably encompass Route 200 and then of course portions of Route 395. And I know, like I said, Rich is in the meeting. I don't know if there's anything he'd want to share about it, or if there's any question that Ken or Suzanne that you might have at this time about our meeting. We basically walked away yesterday just knowing that Wayne's going to do some additional testing because there's some gaps in the data that really isn't enabling him to give us some firm suggestions on how we move forward. But that was really it. I don't know if you guys have any questions.
Nope, just keep us up to date.
Yeah, just Wayne does a great job in advising. I'm sure Slater looked it all over real well, and there's some unanswered questions as to changes. We need a salt shed. We just got to figure out where and how to fund it at some point in the future.
Right.
So I'll keep you updated. Like I said, Wayne should be out to the Public Works garage within the next week. He's going to be looking at the wells that are in place, and he'll be making some suggestions after that reevaluation. All right, moving on to agenda item 10. Again, this is more of a discussion. I want to keep the discussion moving, but the firefighters abatement proposed changes to exemption. So we have discussed, we increased this year, but we did discuss potentially changing from an abatement to an exemption. I think that will be a huge benefit for our firefighters, where they won't have to be double taxed. It also makes bookkeeping a little bit easier within the town hall as well. I sent you some correspondence that I had with Paul Hopkins, our assessor. He made some suggestions to us on how we might pursue the exemption as far as the amount of the exemption and what it should be. But open for your thoughts on this topic.
So this is another ordinance change, correct?
It will be an ordinance change, and that's why I want to keep it on the agenda, because if we're going to do it, it would be ideal to do it by the May town meeting. The annual town meeting, right?
Well, it's something that we definitely need to do before the next benefit goes out to them.
Right, and to know that, so what would happen in this case, all of the fire department chiefs would have to present who's eligible for the exemption. They would have to present it by December 31st. It would have to go to Paul Hopkins by then. and he would make the adjustments on his end for January when he presents the you know,
So we have to determine what the exemption would be, is that correct?
correct. So, I mean, it can be food for thought. We can take it up again at the next meeting. My initial thought, based on what Paul had sent to us, was possibly a $65,000 exemption would be a good place, a middle ground. Know that exemption changes based on the increase of any kind of the mill rate increase. So if the mill rate increases, then what that exemption yields them increases as well.
Mhm.
So
And what'd you say, 60,000?
I was leaning towards 65.
65,000, I'm sorry. And what is that, what does that mean in
Currently-
dollar and cents?
With our current mill rate, $1,500, which is the abatement that they receive, equates to $61,910. So with the knowledge that the mill rate most likely will increase over the next few years, I thought 65,000 would be a fair exemption. Anticipating.
I would
increasing-
agree with that, but it's gonna go up. The allotment amount will go up, I mean, the dollar amount that they actually receive off their taxes will go up each time the mill rate goes up, if it goes
Correct.
up, right?
But it equally goes down if, so it might be something where we have to reevaluate every few years. After the next revaluation, maybe we reevaluate the amount. So.
And is that the only way
gonna
to
be
do it,
fluid.
is to set it as an exemption on the, okay, no?
Based on
Yeah.
the state statute, that's the way I understand it. The state statute actually gives you up to like 1.2 million in exemptions. So I guess that's based on whatever part of Connecticut you live in. Obviously, it doesn't really apply here. So,
I mean, that's basically what they're doing with the, God, my mind just went south.
Is it veterans?
The veterans,
Veterans, yeah.
they set a dollar amount and it just goes.
Ken, how are you with the 65?
Well, I have no problem with it, as a number. On any ordinance change with this, you're gonna have to put out what the scenarios are and how it's gonna equate out to, because people are gonna vote on it and they're gonna want and ask more information on it.
Yes,
So we've got to provide them with that.
yes.
And go ahead.
And in order for us to, do you want to vote on this tonight, or do you want to think about it longer?
Well, in order for us to do anything, we still have to have an ordinance written up in place.
Yes, but the dollar amount, I'm saying, because in order to write the ordinance, we would need to have the dollar amount, correct?
Well, the dollar amount would be in the ordinance.
That's what I'm saying. In order to send this to the attorney to write the ordinance, or
But he can write up an ordinance and you can plug in any dollar amount.
True.
Okay,
True.
so that's not going to have an effect. You're going to want to look at, again, it's going to be the information going out to the public so that way they can digest it and see what the impact would be. And I think, with some of these numbers that we're doing, we need to see what the impact will be, as well as the Board of Finance is going to want to know as well. So, we can write up the ordinance. We've got the committee to do it. I'm sure there's ordinances out there that Paul could give us, or even Slater's got them. But we got to run some different scenarios and look at this and have, a little bit more discussion. But let's see a complete ordinance in place, in
all right.
front of us.
So is that the action item that we'll get an ordinance written up? We'll review it potentially the next meeting. That gives us 2 weeks to put this together, and then we don't have to plug in the numbers. We can plug in the numbers after
Yeah,
you guys have given it thought.
Yeah, and we can ask Paul and Rainey and, to see what the
Yep.
impact in all of this is going to be over the, how it works out.
And Amy, Steve Benoit is asking, does this include emergency management?
Not that I know of. But I guess it should.
I think it, honestly, I think it should. It's the EMS, it's EMS, firemen, and I would think emergency management, but I don't know.
I can find out.
I would have to think that when we write up an ordinance, we can include anybody we wish.
I would advocate that we include them because I think, you know, they're volunteers. Is that correct?
Yep.
Yeah, Steve and Brian are volunteers as just on the
And I think they do a lot of
emergency
work.
management. Without a doubt, they've kept this town going through our couple of disasters and snowstorms and different things. Their time is very valuable.
So we could pursue with writing up the ordinance. I mean, it's the whole dollar amount is going to look different, but it's still going to be the dollar amount that we are, the 1,500 will still be the 1,500. The only thing that changes is now it could potentially be more.
It comes off the top of the real estate.
It's about where it comes from.
Grand
It's how it's,
Right.
yeah. But it's still, if we stick with that 65 or 60,000, whichever, it's still going to look the same, the bottom line.
Right. It's just less paperwork as far as going out of
It's-
the town.
I think it makes it a lot
It's a lot
easier for
cleaner.
everybody,
Yeah,
for the
and
firemen, for the,
It puts more work on the assessor, but he didn't seem to
Oh.
mind. He didn't seem to mind.
he's a good guy.
He is.
So,
So, all right. So we'll
So
move forward from this
yeah.
and I'll work on an ordinance.
an ordinance and then we can decide on a dollar amount to plug in there. And like you said, Ken, a lot of explanation at the town meeting would probably be good.
Yes.
So maybe Paul could come explain it.
Yes, that's true. That would be helpful.
Maybe a PowerPoint or something.
Comparing the two, what we've been doing and what we will be doing.
Yeah, and how it
How
technically
will
is
it
not going to
benefit?
change. Yeah.
That's
It-
fabulous.
Yeah,
that's a
and
good
keep in
idea.
mind that firemen were actually getting taxed on this. Is that correct?
Yes,
So now they will not
Taxed on
get
their
taxed
abatement,
on it.
right.
Yeah.
That is correct.
So that's a couple of pennies more.
cleaner. It's just a
Yeah,
cleaner, it's a
yeah.
cleaner transaction.
Yes.
And that's what we were trying to get away from.
Right.
Make it a
Right,
clean
exactly.
transaction.
All
All
right.
right, moving on to agenda item 11, recreation camp buses RFP opening. So this is something that we had at last meeting, but I did not receive the actual bid opening. So I am going to open the bid. I don't have to disclose the amounts. Those will be published later. But this one came in from DATCO out of New Britain, Connecticut. DATCO is our current bus provider. It's the only camp bus RFP that we received.
Oh, okay.
So. You know what, since Leslie's in the meeting, I'm just gonna let her know, well, there's a whole lot of numbers here. Leslie, I'm not gonna read off the amounts. It's pretty confusing because there's a lot of various numbers here. So I'm just gonna pass this on to you. According to FOIA, we don't have to read off the amounts, but know that we did receive one from DATCO. We will publish those at a later date.
Thank you.
All right, and that was the only bid opening we had for camp buses. I'm going to move on to agenda item 12, which is the Wheaton Brook Culvert Replacement RFP opening. Same scenario. We are not reading off the dollar amounts. Those will be published at a later date. We're just going to physically open the bids, read off who they're from and where the bids came from, meaning the city, state. And yeah. So the first one is from American Industries Incorporated, 630 Plainfield Road, Jewett City, Connecticut. Sealed bid for the Wheaton Brook Culvert replacement.
No. Yeah. No. You gonna clean it up?
The second one is from Jones Construction
My
LLC.
fault.
It's a PO box from Unionville, Connecticut. sealed bid for the Wheaton Brook Culvert replacement. Very sealed. Once we open all these bids, copies will be given to our Public Works Director and to J&D Civil Engineering as well. The third bid is from B&W Paving and Landscaping, 70 Foster Road in Waterford, Connecticut. The Wheaton Brook Culvert replacement. The fourth one is from King Construction Incorporated, 16 Northwood Drive, Bloomfield, Connecticut. These are really, really sealed bids. Sorry. Hold on. Have to get something to open these. The fifth bid is from Lorard Contractors, 100 Northwest Drive, Plainville, Connecticut. Sixth one is from Mattern Construction Incorporated, 26M Bushnell Hollow Road, Baltic, Connecticut. Seventh one is from Milton C. Beebe and Sons Incorporated, 12 Beebe Lane, Stores, Connecticut. Seventh one is from New England Infrastructure Incorporated, and that is 16 Brent Drive, Hudson, Mass. Eighth one is from Sukoki and Son Incorporated. Sorry if I'm butchering your names. 43 Hatchets Hill Road, Old Lyme, Connecticut. Eighth one is from Tobacco and Son Builders, 145 Burlington Ave, Bristol, Connecticut. Ninth one is from True Blue Environmental, 5 Northfield Road, Wallingford, Connecticut. And that is all of the bids. Yep, that is everything.
You have some comments there, Amy, I think you need to look at.
How many were there?
I think I might have had more. Hold on. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Oh, there was 11. I was counting.
Thank you.
them. I'll read them all off again. We had American Industries, 630 Plainfield Road, Jewett City, Connecticut. We had B&W Paving and Landscaping, LLC, 70 Foster Road, Waterford, Connecticut. We had Jones Construction, LLC, PO Box 418, Unionville, Connecticut. We had King Construction Incorporated, 16 Northwood Drive, Bloomfield, Connecticut. Lorero Contractors, 100 Northwest Drive, Plainville, Connecticut. Mattern Construction, 26 M Bushnell Hollow Road, Baltic, Connecticut. Milton C. Beebe and Sons Incorporated, 12 Beebe Lane, Stores, Connecticut. New England Infrastructure, 16 Brent Drive, Hudson, Mass. Sukoki and Son Incorporated, 48 Hatchets Hill Road, Old Lyme, Connecticut. Tobacco and Son Builders Incorporated, 145 Burlington Ave, Bristol, Connecticut. And True Blue Environmental, 5 Northfield Road, Wallingford, Connecticut. Apparently I can't count. There was 11 that I opened in total. And there's the chat. And to answer, I know Janet had mentioned, we have checked with FOIA on multiple occasions. We do not have to, we name the bidder. We do not have to call out the price. And I've confirmed that 3 different times since I've been in office, just to make sure. So the bids will be published. The amounts will be published at a later date. So.
Okay, if the, just for future RFPs, if that is the case, whatever we're putting in the documents should reflect that they won't be, the amounts be
What
read.
documents?
The ad that goes into the,
Oh, it just
Within
says
the
that they will be read out loud. It doesn't say that the total amount will be read. It says they will be publicly opened and read out loud at the selectmen's meeting.
The time when it has to be published is after the bid's been awarded. So. All right. Any other business? Moving on to agenda item 13. Any other business? Okay, moving on to agenda item 14. Citizen comments. Any citizen comments at this time? Okay, hearing none, we'll move on to agenda item 15, tax refunds. I'll make a motion that we refund Thomas Gramelski, $4.92. Hyundai Lease Trust, $216.62. Michael Salisbury, $20.39. Catherine Reynolds, $122.19. And Christine and John Yakovickius, $85.58 for a total of $449.70 in tax refunds.
second.
There's a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor of these tax refunds, say aye.
I,
Aye. Opposed? That motion passes. I'll make a motion that we adjourn at 8:08 p.m.
second,
Okay, we have a motion and second. All in favor of adjournment, say aye.
I.
Aye. Opposed? This meeting is adjourned.
Good night.